Hi everybody, my name is Alexandra and welcome to Creative 404. This is actually something I am recording the same day as my last video. So you're actually going to get this video the next day because I made some promises about putting out a sewing tutorial and I'd be damned if I don't give those tutorials to you guys, because if you want them, come rain or shine, I will do it. Haven't slept, so I got really tired eyes. They're really puffy right now. Um, they're probably red too because this one has been itching a lot. I wear contacts, so my contacts dry out, and when I don't go to sleep, this is bad. So today's tutorial is my hardest tutorial. My hardest, I don't kid you not. It is the most complex tutorial there ever was. No, it's actually very simple. The hardest part is the fact that these things are so tiny that your machine is just going to want to eat it. And it's going to nom 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 eat it a lot. So you're going to struggle with it a lot. Because they are so small, getting your top stitches to look straight is going to be very difficult. So I beg you, have a lot of patience with yourself while you're making this pattern. Just have patience. Go slow and follow some of the tips that I give you along the way. Because I'm so tired, I did kind of have a little bit of a digression towards the end of this tutorial. So please forgive me. I'm working full time as a designer, and then I'm trying to make YouTube videos at the same time. So just to give you an idea, I'm a full-time designer. I work just over 40 hours a week. Then I do YouTube videos, which actually take me a while, especially making these patterns. Luckily, I already have this pattern. It's one of my old patterns from last year that I made. It took me a month to make this pattern. So please, if you could, give me a like down in the description box below. It really means a lot to me because I put a lot of effort in this pattern. So that's it for this introduction. I'm going to show you real quick the first part of sewing this. I actually forgot to speak, so my apologies. You will have to sew across the top lines as I indicate with my fingers, and then afterwards I'll start speaking. So bear with me. I'm really tired. I forget some things while I'm really tired. Let's get started. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video because this pattern is such a difficult pattern to do. Now this is an advanced pattern, so I'm not sure if I said that already, but this is going to be a very difficult pattern to make. And one thing that I am doing here is I am sewing with paper underneath, and I've even doubled up the paper on some areas. This way you can really get the curves of these cups and the underbust of the cups. These points are really hard to do, especially to get them nice and sharp. You really want to get as close as possible to them. And so that's why I really wanted you to follow along this line when it comes to making the pattern. Now, when it comes to sewing stitches, I am actually using the middle stitch between what I normally use a 12 stitch. 24 is a little too short, so I actually use the between my 12 and 24. So I use that to get these really tight, straight stitches. My my tension is as good as I can possibly get it. You can see it is looking pretty sharp. And now I'm about to do the tops of the cups. So you just want to do the tops of the cups, not the bottoms. And what I am also doing while I'm sewing is I'm holding my thread pieces out of the way. So while I sew this, I'm going to hold this thread piece and then sew across the top and then go across the other top. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I have done the tops of the cups now. I have backstitched each little piece here and here. Well, actually I kind of forgot this piece. That is fine. We will overstitch on this, and this is just a tutorial, so try not to forget backstitching. It is difficult sometimes. So I have used my paper, as you can see, and this adds stability and it keeps your fabric from falling into the bobbin hole. So I am just gently pulling this paper off the fabric. I focus on pulling the paper, not pulling the fabric from the paper, but pulling the paper from the paper so that it actually starts to use that perforated edge to just come apart. And by focusing on just pulling paper from paper instead of ripping this off, I do that sometimes too, but it's best to rip it paper from paper. That way it's not ripping your stitches and causing them to deform. So what I have here is I actually went and added a larger piece of gauze because that last piece was just too small. And now I'm going to cut. Now I am going to use my tiny scissors for this because it is a very delicate piece. And I am going to start by giving it a bit of a seam allowance. So I really want at least somewhere between, I want to say 3 to 5 millimeters. And when you get to the corners, you can actually clip the corners close and then continue on cutting your seam allowance. So I like to do that as I go along. I think it just saves me a step. Now you do want to get too close, otherwise you can't turn this too well. You do want to be able, so I'll show you with this piece first and then I'll do it with the cups. So you do want to be able to clip these pieces, which this is actually a bad scissor. These are better scissors. They have a sharper, pointier tip. So I'm going to clip the curve, trying not to cut the thread. Now try not to get any smaller than what you see here when it comes to your seam allowance. I was pushing the envelope when it comes to how small to make this seam allowance. If anything, you want it to be about this big, not this big. Yeah, I was a little too gung-ho with my seam allowance cutting. So now that you have this, you have written on the right sides of your fabric. So this, if this was a pattern, this will be your right sides of the fabric, and then you would actually move it and turn it outside so the right sides come back out, if that makes some sense. So what I'm going to do is I am going to iron this down so that the seam allowance is now tucked behind the fabric. And then I'm going to sharpen these curves and these points. And I will be right back. Okay, so here I'm going to show you why you need to be careful on how much of that seam allowance you cut, because I actually cut way too much for the cups. I really should have tried to really focus on cutting this amount, because this amount is perfect, but the cups where the underbust lays is just not exactly enough space. But I'm going to give it a try anyway, because I'm a parchment for punishment, and because I am just wanting to do this tutorial. I hate having to go back and forth. But if I was doing this for my shop, I would probably just toss it. It's not very, very good. But you'll find I toss a lot of things while I am sewing. These are just tiny bits of fabric. These are actually probably the pieces of fabric. Like, you can make doll bras out of pieces of fabric that you would normally throw away. It is that small. You really don't need much to make a bra. I actually made this from a piece of 4" by 5" fabric, which is really, really small. I can actually make the cups out of little pieces of remnants, little pieces of cutaways, and make the band of the bodice of the pattern from a slightly larger piece. So it doesn't even have to always come from one piece of fabric. You can take multiple tiny pieces of fabric and make a little bra out of it. And I think it is just so wonderful, because you can use just about every inch of fabric you have in your selection. So I am going to go and top stitch this piece down so that the seams are now lying flat. And I'm just going to do the top of, actually, cut that. Was that how I did it? So now that we have this flat, and I showed you the seam troubles, because this is going to be a little bit of an issue, I am also going to do the cups. So we're going to leave the base alone after ironing it flat. So put it aside. Don't top stitch it just yet. We are going to save that for a next step. So leave it alone. Go on to your doll cups for your bra. So I am going to take this bra, and I am going to get the seam allowance better on this one than I did the other piece, hopefully. Ooh, these scissors are nice. They cut like butter. I forgot how nice these little tiny scissors were. Now, when it comes to how much you need to cut for the seam allowance, that really just is, it just depends, really. It's hard to judge, in all honesty, without having some experience turning these. It actually took me a good month to get this pattern ready. And I mean, it took me hours and hours each week to get this to work the way I wanted it. And I was just, it was frustrating, but I got it to work. So now I'm cutting the bottom dip of the curve. Do not cut into the dart lines. So go around the edges like so, and that will be what one cup looks like. So I'm going to do the next cup. I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, so it's really hard to judge what amount of seam allowance to do. I just cut it. If you don't have the bravery of just going out and cutting it, do feel free to trace your seam allowance first before cutting it. Give it a nice trace with a water-soluble pen and do your best. So I am going to trim this piece. This is just my way of getting the curves, and I am going to notch this piece because you notch pieces that go inner curves. You notch concave curves, not convex. So you notch concave like so. So you get these little notches. And then you take your till or twill and you use it to basically hold that seam allowance back. And look at that. That is so small. I am really sorry. This is like, look how small it is compared to my hand. It's so tiny. Like I said, this is an advanced sewing pattern. I'm probably going to say that a couple of times. This is advanced. So don't be too upset if you mess up your first 12 times. It's going to happen, unfortunately. It is a type of pattern that really takes practice doing. I am trying my very best to give you as many little tips as possible that I've encountered while making this particular pattern. So if you're an advanced sewer out there and you want to try something that's rather challenging, good luck. You definitely found the pattern for you. If you're a beginner sewer and you decided to jump the deep end and learn to swim all at once, you have some cojones, I guess you could say. you have some balls, some basketballs, because it's not a pattern I will normally give for a beginner. But we all start somewhere, so I wish you the luck. And I don't mean that facetiously, I just mean good luck. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. So here we go. We turn this piece. And one thing that I actually forgot to do, which I'm going to do now, is figure out where the inner dart goes. So if you look at the dart template, the inner piece is actually the middle here where the smaller piece is, and then this is the outside the bust. So this will be towards the armpit. This will be towards the middle of the bust. So I wanted to keep in mind where that is because that's going to become important later on, and you don't want to get that mixed up. So I am just going to make a little dot for the inner bust piece. So I know that when I attach these to this later on, I will know that these points go together. So I'm going to iron these flat, and I'm going to show you how to sew them because I am going to hold your hand when it comes to this pattern because it is a hand holding pattern. So I will be right back. So we're back to the sewing machine, and I've laid down a piece of paper so that it doesn't fall into that little bobbin hole down there. I'm not sure if you can see it, it's pretty dark. So what we're going to do, these little cups are about the size of my thumb, so they are very tiny. And what we're going to do is we're going to line the cups in the middle so that the middle dots that we just drew are at least somewhat together. Then what we are going to do is we're going to slowly start sewing across the top edge. And I'll show you a little trick real quick while I have you here. Because I don't have any type of mount for my camera right now, I have to do this kind of one-handed. So my apologies for any type of awkwardness you see. Okay, let's try this one more time. So I'm trying to align this so that the foot edge, there we go. Here, I'll show you now. So you can see when I am sewing this very small piece, here we go, let's get a little closer. Oh my God, look at that. So this is how I'm going to sew. Do I have a needle? Here we go. So I'm going to use this pen because this is very small. And you will see that right here in the middle piece of my foot is where I'm going to aim, and I'm actually going to align my pattern so it actually hits right here on the metal thing, so maybe about 2 millimeters away from the center. So I actually have this piece in the wrong position, but it's really difficult to get it one-handed. Let's see. Yes. Sweet, baby Jesus, I got it. You see, that is where you kind of want your oh my God, we're all out of focus. Come on. So you see here, that is kind of where you want your fabric to be. And you're going to slowly, and I mean slowly, stitch across the top of your cup. Now you just want to go across the top. You don't want to go all the way around. You just want to go across the seam that you just made. And we're going to, this has been ironed flat. Oh my God, look how big my finger is compared to this tiny thing. So you just want to, you iron it flat, and you're going to sew across the top of this baby thing. Oh my God, it is so small. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to do this off camera, and I'll show you how it looks at the inside, or the other side. Okay, the other side didn't last very long because this happened. This is why you need to put paper down. Even with paper, the machine is going to want to eat these small pieces. This machine will eat your small bra cups. Let me repeat that one more time. This machine will eat the bra cups, even through paper. So what I should have done, and I totally forgot, was actually double up on the paper to really add stability to keep this machine from eating the bra cups. So look at this. Can you even see it? Because it's so tall, it's so small, and then my hand is so big compared to it. But it's actually eating my fabric. So I'm going to try and salvage this piece. Hopefully it hasn't done too much damage. This is why we use paper in the first place. But when you find that your pattern is getting stuck in the hole on the bottom anyway, you need to add more paper. More paper means more stability. More stability means less problems like this. Because this is a problem. and I'm going to try and solve it. So one more thing as I have you here. This was, yes, as difficult as I remember it. This is why I usually do dry runs, but I didn't do a dry run on this. One thing that was happening was this fabric was going up and down with the needle. Like the needle was, this is just, it has no weight to it. It is basically a feather, and it was going up and down with the fabric. So what I had to do while sewing was actually put a needle in this ring here and basically use a pointer to tap that piece down and keep it down. So I would have to lift my foot up and then put it down, and I'm trying to do this without being able to see and push this in. So what I do is if it comes loose in the bobbin, like if it comes loose, I will lift this up, hold it down with the scissors or any type of pointing in, and then press it back down, press the foot down on top of the scissors, and then push them back out. I would use scissors. Sometimes I will even use my my seam ripper. Using the pointy end of the seam ripper is actually a lot nicer than these scissors because these scissors have some thickness to it. And with the needle that is on your seam ripper, it is a lot easier to maneuver this tiny piece. And like you can maneuver it any way. You can maneuver it underneath your foot from here. You can maneuver it from here. You just got to go really slow and make sure not to hit the needle. So you don't want this needle to come down on your scissors because it will break and it might poke your eye out. So be very careful. If you're underage, get an adult to supervise you because it's not my responsibility if you get hurt, okay? This is dangerous. This is not for kids. This is why I usually put in my channel that it's not for kids. So be safe and have patience. If you're of legal age, maybe go have a drink if that is your thing, because this thing is frustrating inducing, but stay calm. This is actually the hardest part of sewing this. And even though I haven't sewn one of these in several months, I am not too upset with how these lines look. I mean, I think they could be better. I always think they could be better. But it's not so bad for something I haven't done in a long time. So I'm going to rip these off these paper pieces, and I'll be right back. So I'm just going to show you at the machine the next step, and that is very simple. You're going to do the darts. All you have to do is fold the darts so that the lines meet. I'm trying to do this one-handed while I hold the camera with the other. But you're going to align the darts, and you're just going to sew them real quick. You're going to make sure that they're right sides together. So that's going to be the side without the tool. There we go, tool. So it's the side without the tool. You're going to fold it inwards. So the tool is going to be on the outside. So the right sides are together. And you're going to sew the little dart. Okay, and now we have tiny little darts. They're about the size of my pinky. And it fits perfectly for my pinky as a small cup. The next stage is that you're going to keep the darts facing away from that dot that you made. So you want them to go outwards from the middle. So if the dot is in the middle, your dart is going to be facing the other direction. So fold it that way, as you can see. That makes more sense than what I'm talking about. You're going to do the opposite side, or it's going to be the opposite. It's mirrored image of that one. There we go. So you have your seams. They're pulled that way, away from the dot. And remember, the dots meet in the middle. And now we're going to do your next hardest part. We're just sewing them to the baseline here. So we have the base of the little bra, and we're going to hand stitch, base stitch actually, them to this cup. Now, because you're going to get really tight into this cup, you are going to want to base with the same color, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to remove your basting. Basting stitches are basically little stitches that you use to hold something down, and it's not quite hand stitching, but it's pretty close. Basting is usually pretty long stitches, while hand stitching is pretty small stitches. But because of the size of this item, you're going to have to use some small stitches. So I'm going to take a small break, and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try and sew along the top edge. So we're going to go from this top all the way up around each curve and then back down. We're going to miss the bottom curve here. That is going to be next. But right now we're going to focus on the top part of your body band. And you're going to hand stitch these cups to the top first, and then you're going to sew from there all the way up there, down, and again that way. So that's one more time. And you're going to use your sewing machine for that. So base them in there, sewing machine for the rest. Got it. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a small break because this is very stressful to me. I usually do 5 of these together at once, and out of the 5, I will keep one of them as my final piece because I just fight with it so much, and it just makes me a little upset and frustrated. So when you get frustrated with something, take a small break and then come back to it, because frustration is only going to make this worse. And I know that from experience. So if you feel frustrated, take a break and then come back to it, which is what I'm going to do. And I'll be right back. Hopefully, when I come back, I will have these pieces where they're supposed to be. And then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so here is the top. It's not perfect. The sort of thread tension kind of went off. I'm not sure how. Probably because I rest my head on the machine while I sew. So I probably moved it a little bit. It just looks like the top is too tight. The top tension is too tight. Yeah, it's definitely too tight. Look at that right there. So my top thread is just slightly too tight. But that is fine. This is just a demo. Like I said, if I was doing this for sale, I'd probably do like 5 of them at the same time so that I can pick the best one. Sometimes if I'm really lucky, I can get 3. So now, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to actually redraw this line on the bottom because it has disappeared. So I'm going to redraw this line. Actually, the cool thing about some of these disappearing inks is with a little bit of heat, you can actually see it before you wash the product. So if it hasn't been washed, you can actually bring back the lines with an iron. So I'm going to try that real quick. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to draw them on by hand, and I'll be right back. So I did actually have to draw this line back because the iron didn't bring it all the way back. So with the front sides facing, you're going to actually fold it so that the seam allowance goes to the back, which will be the inside of your bra. You are going to iron this flat all the way through using your line as a guide. After you iron it, you are going to sew it. And then we are finally going to be finishing this product. It is a sad bra right now, but I am too tired to actually redo this bra. It is a very hard pattern, and I will show you one that I did earlier in the year that actually looks a lot nicer. So let's go finish this project. The next step is actually to do the bottom. So you're going to iron the bottom and then you're going to iron the bottom and then sew the top of it. So I'll be right back. Actually, I just ironed the bottom and I forgot something that is very important. So before you do the sew, so if all you're doing is making a bra, then you can just sew this piece. But this pattern actually comes with two options, which I actually didn't use in this particular tutorial. I left out. But I want to bring it to attention right now, and that is the skirt pieces. Now I have these patterns. Sorry if they look a little janky. These are actually the scans from my pattern. I had my computer die, and my pattern was on the hard drive that died with it. Unfortunately, I haven't recovered that hard drive yet where the pattern is at, and so all that I had left were these printed pieces of my pattern, and I had to scan them into the computer and reprint them. So that's why they don't look as clean as my normal patterns would look. So my apologies. If you are downloading the pattern in the description box below, your pattern will actually be my nice finished, because I'm going to redo and refinish the pattern so it's nice and clean for you. But as I'm doing this tutorial right now, I'm forgoing that step until last. So I'm going to clean up this pattern after I finish this video, which is kind of the opposite of what I usually do. I usually clean up the pattern before I start the video. That way you can see the nice clean pattern. But in this case, I jumped the gun. Anyway, I digress. So, before you iron this, if you want to add either the dress skirt or this skirt. So this is the regular skirt. This is the dress skirt. I don't usually use the dress skirt. I actually like the skirt. Not the dress, but just the regular skirt. This will turn the pattern from a bra to a bralette t-shirt design. And I'll show you the example real quick while I have your attention. Okay, so you also have another piece that I have on the sidelines, which are these. So you can do the bottom seam, or you can gather your skirt, attach it to the seam without ironing it. So you won't iron it, you'll attach it to that, then you'll iron it flat after you've attached it. So then you'll end up with something like this, which is a nice little shirt. You will have the skirt part. Before you attach it, you would actually have, well, you can do it after you attach it, but you would have to do the seam on the bottom. So if you're doing this as a shirt, you will actually leave it, you will forget to iron it, and you'll leave it flat like you did in the last step. Then you'll go straight to your skirt piece or your dress piece, and you'll hem the bottom. After you hem the bottom, you will gather the top. You'll gather the top, and then you will baste it to the bottom fabric, making sure that the right sides are together. You'll gather it and make sure that it's all the way through, making sure that your gathers stay towards the middle, because that will look the nicest. You'll end up with something like this. Then you'll top stitch along your gathered fabric. But in this step, I am just going to do a top stitch along the bottom hem without adding any of the skirt pieces. This is kind of the idea of what I'm doing. For this piece, it just has the bottom. You may also notice that this is shorter on the sides than this. Here. See? I can't tell if that's really noticeable to you guys. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, now it's very noticeable. So, because each doll can have some variance, I did leave a lot of extra room around the chest of the doll. This way, you can make it fit. But I will show you that in the next step. For this step, we are going to just sew, like I mentioned. So that is my little aside. I wanted to really show you guys that there is another step if you want to make a cute little sundress or sun shirt. I don't know, it's not really a dress, it's more like a baby doll shirt. That's what I was looking for last. I was trying to figure out that word, and it's a baby doll shirt. It's cute. I really enjoy this. I love the sunflowers. Anyway, another option, as I have your attention, is instead of doing the straps, you use really small bits of lace that match. But as I didn't have any matching lace for the yellow, I went ahead and I used the bra straps for the top, which are up here. I'm getting tired, so now I'm just explaining things. I'm actually doing this after my last video on the same day. So you're actually going to get this the next day. But I'm doing this the same day because I promised someone a pattern for a bra with a tutorial. And I am very, 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 very tired. So I'm going to sew this piece just like I said. I've said it a couple of times. I'm going to sew the top right here. But I'm also going to tell you what the next step is, because I'm going to also do that off camera, just for making things a little streamlined. And what am I going to do is I'm going to iron this in half. Once I iron this in half, oh no. Okay. Scratch that. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to fold it in thirds. Like so. Once you fold it in thirds, you're going to iron it flat, which is going to be a little bit difficult, but you're going to end up with a very tiny strap. So I'm going to iron this in thirds. And then sew this. I need a break. Oh my god. I'll be back. I'm just gonna do stuff. This tutorial is really digressing. So I have done the bottom top stitching and it messed up. This is why you shouldn't do the hardest pattern you have Like, this is literally the hardest pattern I have in my pattern box. And I hadn't slept the night before. So, two things that are making this oh so difficult. One thing you'll find is you'll have little flyaways, and I find that just cutting it off will help it look nicer. Don't worry too much about it. Now, the elephant in the room is this strap. My eyesight is just way too gone right now to do the little strap. If my eyesight's really gone right now, then I really should go back to bed. But I'm going to push on because I really want to get out a sewing tutorial this week. And if I'm going to do a sewing tutorial this week, it got to be done today. Otherwise, I just won't get to it. And it'll be 2 weeks until I've had my next sewing tutorial. And I'll feel really, really terrible. And I think I've made promises to people that I'll have a tutorial out. I just wish it was in better quality and I was in better shape to actually do it. I'm really sorry, guys. I hope that you can follow along very well. I'm feeling a little sad, but I hope you guys can still follow along the pattern. So in this one, you are probably just going to use the ribbon method with the white. You can also add a cute little ribbon bow in the front. It'll also hide some of your mistakes. It won't hide this mistake over here. That can't be hidden. I'm sorry. I wish. But it will hide like the middle piece, which the middle piece for some reason always looks kind of nasty unless you get it really, really good. I actually attached these and basted the little cups on there 3 times before I was just like, this is as good as it's going to get, because I mean, it's very similar to that piece. Maybe I'm just being harsh on myself. I mean, even if you look at it, this piece, they're just tiny, tiny cups for little, tiny, tiny tatas. And yeah, so I'm going to show you the next step. And then that's probably going to be it, because that's really all there is to the pattern. So I'm going to show you the next couple of steps actually, and I'll be right back. So here's my girl. I do try to forego doll nudity in any shape or form, but in this case it can't be helped. This bra will actually only work on the small bust girls. It will not work on the girls with the bigger bust. So sorry, lady. See the tatas? Small tatas, not the big tatas. Or the small bust, not the medium bust. I should have said that at the beginning, but it's okay. So you're going to align the tatas with the cups like so. Then you flip her onto the back. Sometimes you might have to actually use some tape, but I'm going to try and there we go. So I have it aligned. I have it aligned, and what I just did is I looked at this particular line in the middle of the back. And then I drew the line for the mid. Now I'm going to do it to the other side. All right. That's not it. Now you have to decide if you want to use a snap or doll velcro. In this case, I've decided I'm going to use doll velcro. So I'm actually going to cut spaces so that the velcro fits in line with that middle piece. So what I do is I line those middle pieces together, fold them in half so that they are back to front. Then I take my scissors and I cut it to that seam allowance. That is why you have all that extra room. This way, if you mess up a little bit on your sewing, hint, hint, right here, look at that mess up. You know what? I can hide it. Dude, I can hide it. Look, I can hide it underneath that, and I have it like that, and the Velcro would hide. So, I mean, this is the opposite way, but if I wanted to hide my mistakes, the Velcro can be like that. Now, I'm not going to do this because I actually hate this piece. It is just a tutorial. The next step of the tutorial would be to glue on. Now, I used super glue. So you're going to glue on your Velcro so that it's on either side and that it matches like so. Or in this case, the other way, so you can hide the mistake that you made. Isn't that nice? Now it's only just a little bit on the side, and it doesn't really matter. I'm really happy I came up with that idea. Too bad I really hate how the busts look now. I hate this piece. I would not sell this piece. Like, even this, when I made this, I was somewhat on, like, look how nice these stitches are. And when I made this, I was kind of up for grabs of whether or not I was going to toss this one or keep it. But look at that. It's so jagged. I'm such a picky sewer though, and if I'm going to sell something, I want it to be something I'm proud of, and I'm proud of this little piece. I'm super proud of this little piece. And this little piece I think is just cute. I mean, I have no real thoughts on it. I think it looks nice. This piece will go in the trash. This piece is going into the trash. Unfortunately, it's my tutorial piece. So tutorial pieces are just to show you the processes in place. Like I said, I'll do maybe 5 of these at a time and probably keep 1. If I'm lucky, I'll keep 3 of them. So, last step, you are going to put it back onto your doll. Then you're going to take ribbon, and you're going to measure the ribbon based upon how it lays on your doll. So you're going to lay the ribbon across, which for some reason I don't have any ribbon. I'll be right back. So I cut a piece of this purple ribbon for this tutorial. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to Velcro it together. After you've glued your Velcro and the glue has dried, you are going to mark where the trying to do this. Tape also works. Tape is a great friend to many women out there. It is a secret. Shh. But what you're going to do is mark where that starts, then go to the other side. Mark where it ends. Then you're going to take the start, put it right here. It's going to be that much space, so maybe like 2 millimeters to 3 millimeters away from this edge here. So 2 to 3 millimeters from this edge here to right here. You're going to hand sew it to the cup. Once you hand sew the cup, you're going to go to the back, and it's going to be pretty close to that middle piece, and you're going to hand sew it there. Once you're done hand sewing it, you're going to clip any excess ribbon so you end up with a nice bit of seam. So to show you, you're going to hand sew right there, hand sew right there, and if you're smart, you'll make it look like it's part of the top stitch in the front side. See? The rest is pretty easy because that is it. After you have the shoulders on there, that's good. Now, I'm going to explain how to do these because I'm not going to do them right now. You do these fabric ones by folding them into thirds. Then you're going to stitch on either side of that tiny strap. So you're going to end up with this tiny strap with stitches on either side. And if you look on the inside, you see after you do that, you attach it very similar to the ribbon. You do it by hand. You make it hide within the top stitches. In this case, I actually folded, instead of cutting that one piece, I actually folded one piece, making sure that the overlap in the middle aligned, and then I put a clear snap. Then I hand sewn these pieces and trim them to size. And that's basically it. I know I kind of gave up on the piece that I was doing my tutorial on, but this is a very hard project. This is my hardest project that I have. The second hardest project that I have is actually overalls, which I'm still working on. I was actually in the process of making overalls for a mini Blythe, but that pattern was giving me so much trouble that I wasn't even able to put a tutorial up last week. I was trying to make a tutorial last week for the mini Blythe overall pattern, but because it was just so finicky, I just had to table it. That's why there was no video last week. I'm sorry, guys. But now you have this cute little girl, and if you're very, very, very determined, you may have a very cute little bra shirt or bralette or baby doll dress or baby doll shirt. I don't know what they're called. I think a baby doll shirt is actually more accurate. Cute little baby doll shirt. I love this shirt. Did you see? It fits her really, really nicely. And that's the tutorial. I'm really sorry that the end of this video, this tutorial, wasn't really what you might have expected. I was really tired towards the end. I am still very tired. I did have a nice little break, so I'm a little bit more refreshed. I'm ready. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for bearing with me and pushing through this tutorial. I hope at least give you the information you needed to accomplish sewing this little bra pattern or this little bralette shirt or this baby doll dress. I hope that whatever way you choose, you're very successful in what you're making. If you're not too happy with it, don't be so hard on yourself. Just keep trying, and you'll definitely get it the next time you try, or the next time you try, or the next time you try. Generally, like I said, I will make 5 of these pieces together. Maybe one of them I'll keep. If I'm lucky, maybe 3. So do as many as possible. Do as many as you can at once, and just go slow. Take your time. And really, really, best of luck. I mean, it's a hard pattern, and I'm really tired. And I really shouldn't have tried my hardest pattern when I've had no sleep. But I did anyway, because I really wanted to share this with you guys. And I hope you appreciate it, because I appreciate you for watching this video. I like those that comment, because this was actually a comment from a Facebook post that I posted this pattern on. Someone requested a bra pattern. I happen to have one. And then after giving her the pattern, I was thinking, well, how is she supposed to understand how the pattern works? So I decided to do this video for today. My next video is actually going to be another request. Someone in my YouTube comments section requested a sock pattern, and then another person requested a hoodie pattern. So those 2 are on my next line to making for this particular channel. So next week, please expect something. I will definitely try to find the time because I have been working a lot. I think I did 50 hours this week. It is very difficult for me to find time to make these YouTube videos. So I really hope you appreciate it, and I really hope you got something from this, learned something from this, and thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.